Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Recalibrate podcast. Today, I want to dive into a topic that a lot of people actually that they dread, right? Public speaking. Um, Listen, if you've ever been in this situation, if you've ever had to get up, whether it was back in school or you do it in college or in your adult life, I get it, man. The sweaty palms, the dry throat, thoughts racing through your head that you're being judged and everybody's critiquing you and tearing you down, with every word you say. It, Standing in front of a group of strangers, or even if it's people you know, in some cases, it might even be worse if it's people you know, um, it can feel like you're walking into a firing squad, right? Here's the deal. If you can speak clearly, confidently, and with a purpose, you actually become a weapon. You become a weapon up on that stage. And it's all about knowing your material. Whether it's in a meeting or, you're speaking at your kid's school or leading a team, wherever it is, you need to own the room. And I'll tell you, I've always been very comfortable when it comes to speaking publicly, whether it's, small rooms, big crowds, it doesn't matter. But I know this isn't the case for everyone. So, quick story. The other day, I was helping a buddy of mine prep for an interview. Okay. And it was a few days, maybe a week or so after, I ran into him again. I was like, hey, how'd the interview go? We felt it went really well. And he tells me, he goes, I actually came by to tell you uh, some of that advice that you gave me in preparing for it and, how to address my interview. He's like, it really helped, man. And he goes, you should probably share that with other people. And the tips I gave him, it's not, I guess, in the world of public speaking, it isn't groundbreaking or anything, but they are, if you don't know them, then, or if you've never been exposed to it, then it may not be at the top of your head when you find yourself in that position. So I was like, okay, well, it kind of gave me an idea to do this episode for anybody who has to speak regularly to groups of people, or maybe you have something coming up. This is just something you can refer back to because they've been um, just some tips and some advice that I have followed throughout, my career, the career I have now, the career I had before. Um, just things whenever I found myself in a position where I had to speak to groups, and I've talked to groups of thousands of people. I've done interviews on television. I think the biggest press conference I ever gave an interview had 22 cameras. I mean, the BBC was there, um, Telemundo. There was a Korean news outlet, and then all the mainstream U.S. You know channels were there. So I don't know how many people that went out to, but taking these tips, whether you're speaking publicly in something like that, or you're just talking to a small group, like maybe your team that you're in charge of at work, it might be 3 or 4 people. Whenever you step up to speak, I think these 5 tips that I want to share with you they're going to resonate. But it takes a little bit of work, like anything else. It takes a little bit of work for you to kind of master them. Um, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So today, I'm giving you my 5 real world tips that have helped me whenever I present a class or hold a meeting or just speak to a group. Okay. So tip number 1, your topic needs a plan. What I mean by that is you have to give it focus. Okay. So, I mean, just being real, nobody likes a rambler, right? Put yourself in the listener's seat. Okay. You're part of the audience. If somebody gets up on stage and they just start rambling and they're off point, maybe they're discussing something that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. If you're just wandering through random thoughts, your audience is mentally packing up before you hit the second slide. Don't talk just to talk. You have to have purpose, something that connects with your audience. Okay. And you ask yourself when you're preparing to go into this speaking engagement, why should they care? Why should the audience care? And what are they here to learn from me? You have to ask yourself these things before you even step onto that stage. Then build a roadmap that takes them from point A to point B without any pit stops. The last thing you want is to look out into the crowd, look out into that audience and see heads down because they're scrolling on their phones, or even worse, that person who's staring up and they got that deer in the headlight look. That's like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? I once heard this and I really like it. If you try to say everything, you end up saying nothing. Okay. So trim the fat, sharpen your message, and give it focus. That's number one. Number two, tell compelling stories. Okay. Tell a story. You want people to remember you. So try to move them, right? Stories, and I'm talking real ones, like raw, honest ones. They stick. They stick with people. Think about your own life. You don't remember data points from some random PowerPoint, okay? You remember that one speaker who shared something that made you feel, that made you believe in something, right? That made you want to take action. So don't just recite facts. You want to build emotion. And this kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning, is it's going to take some practice, okay? But show the human side of you while you're speaking. You are the expert of you. You know when you failed and what you did to bounce back, or at least what not to do again. Okay, so be a little vulnerable when you share these stories, and trust me, please. You will have their attention. Tell that story about the mistake you made. The time you got knocked down and you got back up. Be authentic, and if you can throw in some humor, here and there, maybe even a little pain in the story, just make it real. That is what is going to have such an impact on your audience. Remember, you're not just there to sound smart. You're actually there to share what you know and to move the group, and again, to take some kind of action after you're done. Okay. So that's number two. Tell stories. Number three, give an entertaining performance. Now, when I say this, you don't have to be Tom Hanks when he loses Wilson in Castaway, okay? I don't care who you are, one of the most memorable and dramatic scenes in cinema history, okay? You don't have to be that, or you don't have to be Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber. Not everything has to be a joke. But for the love of God, don't be boring, okay? Use your voice, move your body, and make eye contact with people in your audience, okay? Bring in energy. If you're not into what you're saying, why the hell would anyone there be? Okay. Bring energy to it and, tame yourself. It doesn't have to be over the top fake motivation, but you definitely don't want to show that you're unhappy to be there, even if you are. Okay. Maybe you were voluntold to give this class or this meeting or whatever. Bring a little bit of energy. Okay. Little pro tip that I picked up. Record yourself, okay? So if you have time to actually prepare prior to whenever you're giving your speech or your meeting, or going up and speaking publicly, record yourself. And yes, the playback will be cringy. I know this. Do it anyway, okay? Watch for filler words, for your weird tics that you don't even know you do. Slouching, and critique your delivery, like critique it hard. If you got somebody who you really trust, whether it's a spouse, a loved one, or maybe just a really good friend, show them and just be like, hey, look, I need you to be brutally honest with me. What am I doing that is going to distract people from what I'm saying? Okay. Practice until you sound like you own it, not just like you're surviving it. Okay. God's sakes, rehearse, man. Because if you step up there and you just try to wing it, I don't want to say this is how your career dies, but everybody has a BS meter. Okay, so if you're just up there trying to wing it, you have lost everybody. No one is paying attention to a word you're saying. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all I'll hit on that one. That's number three. Just do your best to give an entertaining performance. Number four, use media only to enhance your message. Okay. Listen, slides are not your savior. Okay. They're tools. That's all they are. They're not the main event. Don't throw up a wall of text and then read it like it's a bedtime story. That's just lazy. There's nothing worse than going, into a meeting, into a class or something that you have, something that you really want to go, a topic that you really want to hear, and somebody's reading a PowerPoint verbatim, like with their back to the audience. There's nothing worse than that. Use your visuals sparingly. And only when they elevate your story, really. That's really the only time you want to use them. A powerful image, like maybe a short video clip, that's cool. Okay, make sure it relates to your topic. But if your audience could get the same experience by staying home and reading your PowerPoint in an email, then you failed. Okay, nobody needs to be read to. People want to hear your message, and it's important the way you deliver it. Okay, that's what people are there for. Don't just read from a PowerPoint. You're the show, not your laptop. Okay, not what you're transitioning to from slide to slide. They're there for you. Okay, so don't go overboard with media. Only use it as a tool. Okay. Number 5, create a leave behind, something that you want them to remember or something that you want them to do. Okay, that's the whole reason you're there. Why else would you be stepping up and speaking publicly? You're not just up there to ramble. You are there to help somebody learn something new. Okay. So here's what no one tells you. Okay. People will forget the minute they leave the room. They're going to forget you the minute they leave the room. Now, that's not a knock on you. Okay. It's just because life gets really loud and it gets loud real fast. Everybody is on to the next distraction in their life. So give them something, anything to remember you by. I don't care if it's a card, a little one-page flyer. Nowadays the QR codes are great because everybody's got a phone in their pocket. Put that QR code up there. That could be one of those media slides to enhance your message. Okay, put that QR code up there. It gets people to interact, use their phone, and boom, there's the follow-up message. Something that says, hey, I didn't just, give you knowledge, but boom, here's the next step, right? Something that makes them take action. That's what you want to remember anytime that you are providing a message. What is it that you want this people to, or that person to remember, or what is it you want them to do? Make it relevant and make it useful, okay? And make it remind them exactly that they should care, okay? You don't want somebody walking out like, I could take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter to me. You want them, if you're taking your time to put this together and to go up there and share your information, make it relevant, make it important for them, okay? So, that's it. Hey, my 5 little tips, short and sweet. Public speaking isn't about perfection. It's about connecting with people. Be clear, be real, just be human, okay? But the real part is really, really important. Don't try to fake like you're somebody who you're not, okay? Because again, going back to that BS meter, people can see that on stage, even if they don't know you. They know when you're not being authentic, okay? Respect your audience's time. If you're not bringing value to this time frame in which you're speaking, then don't step on stage. All right? So that's all I got. This one's short, sweet one. Hopefully it helps. Refer back to it. The next time you have that dreadful moment where you have to step on stage or you're going to be the center of attention in the room. Okay. Recalibrate your message, own your voice, and speak like your story matter, because it does. All right. Hey, this is the Recalibrate podcast. Remember, wherever your path has led you, no matter how hard life can be, no matter how far you've fallen, you're not done. All right. Hey, take care. Bye, everyone.